Hi, it's Colin Coward. I started The Volume to bring you some of the most authentic voices in sports. While you're here, make sure you hit subscribe. Thanks.
Let's start with the players. Listen, there's not much you can do when you get those conditions. You know, it was out of everyone's hands. It's called Mother Nature. So, you know, some people were complaining. I saw some players complaining about the people complaining. Listen, what are you going to do? It's an ideal situation? Of course not. Did they do the best they could with the hand they were dealt? They did. You know, typically, I've never lived in Florida, but I've watching sports long enough to know you get some weird weather conditions at random times in some of these tropic communities, right? And they got hit with a rainstorm that, honestly, it was miraculous how good the people are on the grounds to get the water off. Because by Monday, after day of raining, like where I come from in California, if it rained that hard, do you know how soggy and muddy the grass? It's remarkable what they were able to pull off, to be honest with you. And we got to tip our hat to the winner, because he's got a mullet, he's got a sweet accent, but holy shit, can that guy play. And listen, I would say the top guys, the Hovlands, the Morikawas, the DJs, the Koepkas, the Brysons, these guys now, obviously Morikawa doesn't hit it as far as those guys. These guys are all so pure and are just such unreal ball strikers. But what really separates, like, what's Viktor Hovland's problem? He can't chip. What was Morikawa's problem when he first got to the tour? He could not putt. You watch Will Zalatoris, Skinny Will, Tony Romo's buddy. You have anxiety watching him just line up a putt. What separated the best player of my lifetime? He's the greatest putter we'd ever seen, especially clutch putter. But an underrated part about Tiger Woods, he wasn't quite Phil with his chipping in his short game, but he was damn close. If Phil has the greatest short game of the last 25 years, Tiger's second. So to win big on the PGA Tour, you can separate yourself. It's the reason guys like Kevin Kisner or Ricky Fowler forever are able to compete at a high level, because they can really putt. They can get up and down around the greens. Yeah, they can't hit it like DJ or, shape the ball like Bubba Watson, 340 yards, but they can get up and down wherever. As someone who's, aspires to be a scratch golfer, my chipping is easily my weakness. Now, I got a buddy that Scotty Raber gave me a little tip, and I've loosened up the shoulders. But anyone listening to this who's not like some former college golfer, most of our short games suck. And every player worth their salt tells you spend less time hitting drivers and 5-irons on the range and go to the practice green and chip. Hell, just go out to a course if you have access and drop some balls within 30, 40 yards of the green and just play around with some shots. Because you watch Cam Smith, no matter where he is, in a 50-yard radius around the green, if you could gamble on it, you'd go, he's going to get up and down. He's a lock to get up and down. He just won the Players' Championship. He had 4 pars on Sunday. Let me repeat, 4 pars on Sunday. He had 10 putts on the back 9. His putting is incredible. So the reason he's going to be a factor, obviously he strikes the ball well, but his short game is elite. And when your short game is that good, it's going to translate to big golf tournaments, right? To me, he's going to be a factor consistently in the majors. Obviously, a couple years ago when the Masters was in the fall, he played with DJ in that final threesome when they had that weather stuff, right? But this guy, what an incredible thing to watch. And we've all been watching him now for a while because he's been in the mix, it feels like, for about over 12 months. But what a joy to watch that guy around the green. We all should aspire to be that good with a wedge in our hand. Have that, consistent of hands with a sand wedge or a lob wedge. Because I'll tell you this, I never think I'm getting up and down. I'm like a 4 handicap. I think, when I get up and down, it's a win. He thinks anything less than an up and down is a disaster. Speaking of short games, I'm rooting for this guy. I like watching greatness. I say it all the time. I do not watch pro sports for overachievers. When I worked in the NFL, I got bored watching practice squad guys. I like watching Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. I like watching Clayton Kershaw in his prime, Garrett Cole. I like watching Steph Curry play Giannis. I liked watching Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson. I don't like watching, I'm a golf junkie, so I can watch middle-of-the-road players, but I would rather watch Cam Smith go at it with Victor Hovland than a couple randos. And ratings would show, so do you. I want Jon Rahm to become an all-time great. And physically, when he's on, he looks pretty special. And I told you, I thought the switch would flip, and he was going to win this tournament. Now, you could argue throw this tournament a little bit of a way because of the weather, but he was right in the mix going into the equivalent of Saturday and Sunday. And I watched a lot of Jon Rahm in his third round. His putting right now is atrocious. When we talk about Cam Smith having an elite short game, I don't give a shit how straight you're hitting it off the tee. Now, obviously, he plays a little cut. How good your irons are, and they were a little off this weekend. But your short game has to be better. And I, basically prefaced, I believe that it's going to turn around. Well, right now, it doesn't even look close. So if he does not figure that out, and listen, all it takes is, they say 1 week, momentum is the next day starting pitcher. He just gets it rolling. He could win Augusta. To me, he doesn't even look, he looks like he's angry. And listen, he can be edgy. And it looked like he turned the corner last year, and now he's edgy again. He's swearing all the time. I think, Sobel and me talk a little bit about this a little later. Two guys that can kind of play fired up and angry on the PGA Tour, and I agree with this, are Justin Thomas and Jon Rahm. They run a little bit hotter. I think JT is better at containing his emotions when he's putting. When I watch Jon Rahm putt, it looks a little stabby to me. It looks a little aggressive. It looks like he's pissed off. It looks like he wants to just drop an F-bomb. Like Terrell Hatton, who is an angry, drops a bunch of F-bombs, can play under control. It feels like Rahm teeters right on the edge of that. And when he falls off, you go, God, this is not going to be his day. And I knew early on his third round, I'm like, I don't feel great about this. And he's off right now when it comes to his short game. He is not going to win the big-time tournaments if he doesn't figure that out. It was better last year. Right now, it's not even close. When you consider, now you could argue all the time, Victor Hovland, if he would have finished solo second, would have been the number one player in the world. He literally can't chip. He cannot chip. For PGA Tour standards. For me and you, he'd be the best chipper we'd ever seen. But for their standards, he's terrible. Yet he's that good. It's why I have a future bet right now on Victor Hovland to win the Masters. He's already played it twice. He was the low am, and the year Tiger won it. And then last year, he finished 21st. So I think Victor Hovland, if he can just chip. Now, Augusta's a place where you need to chip and putt. That's why I'm kind of out on Rahm. But I think Victor is just playing. He's playing better than Jon Rahm. I think Victor Hovland right now, I know Cam Smith just outplayed him, but just over the body of work, best player in the world. Currently playing that way, Victor Hovland. To me, he is just no player at any moment can just rattle off 7 birdies in 10 holes. And you're like, this guy was just in 40th place, and now he's in 3rd. Victor Hovland. Even Morikawa. When Morikawa was coming, he had a moment at Riv where he did a similar thing, but for the most part, it's he's playing at a high level, playing at a high level, playing at a high level. Victor can be a little out of sight, out of mind. Then all of a sudden on Saturday, you're like, oh my God, Victor Hovland just shot 61st, or he shot 61, and now he went from 61st to now being in the second to last group come Sunday. That's Victor Hovland. Victor Hovland goes into the last round where he's like, yeah, Victor Hovland, he's 30th. Then all of a sudden he's 2 behind the leaders with 3 holes left. He just has this deep down ability to throw darts and put up red numbers quicker than you can blink. And the other guy that I grew up playing golf in the 90s. And when I grew up, the best players, and Tiger growing up in California was a mythical figure. When in the mid-90s, my dad, I don't know if kids still do this, but when I was a kid, I got sent to camps. Right, I went to UC Davis basketball camp, UC Davis baseball camp, Dusty Baker baseball camp. I went to a lot of sports camps. Your parents need something to do with kids. They just send you to a camp for 5 days, and you spend the night at some of them. You just stay. It's cool. I don't even know. I don't have kids. I don't know if they still exist. Hope they did because they were really fun. Well, I got into golf, 10, 11, 12. My dad sent me to Stanford Golf Camp. Now, Nota Begay, Casey Martin, Tiger, they won the national championship, and Tiger won the individual national championship. Nota Begay and Casey Martin were kind of around. I think Casey was a camp counselor. Not necessarily at the camp I went to, but the previous week, Tiger just disappeared in the summer, played tournaments all over the world, right? This is when he was in college. But the best players, and they were the premium, they were like Alabama football at golf, were all playing Mizuno irons, right? I think they were the MP22s. I went to high school with well, he was older than me. I was in 8th grade when he was a senior, but Nick Watney, every player worth their salt was playing MP22s, blades. And when you watch, videos from the guys before I was born, right? The Trevinos, the Jacks, the Arnolds, the Gary players, moving the ball was a huge part of golf. Hitting massive cuts, draws, high, low. It's why Tiger, while being the greatest golfer of all time, is arguably the greatest artist of all time. And Phil is very similar to that too, because they grew up in an era where you really work the ball. And listen, I have the TaylorMade 790s. They're definitely not blades, but they're these. They actually go relatively straight. And I'm a cutter of the golf ball. But the technology now, most guys on tour either play a slight draw or a slight fade, but they are not working the ball like it used to be in the 90s and before, right? Because the clubs, the technology, the game has changed. And it's why when you put them in some of these situations where the wind goes crazy, as it did at a really, it was insane at the Players' Championship, right? On Saturday, the wind was humming. You could not control the golf ball because most of these guys are used to not having to flight it up and down. They just hit the same shot over and over and over again. And if you're really good, most of these courses, it doesn't matter. And you're able to rack up millions of dollars. Well, Justin Thomas, while being a new age guy and benefiting from technology, right? He's 5'9", and he hits it 340 yards, right? If he was playing in the 90s, he would not be one of the longer guys on tour. But because of technology and launch angles and all that stuff, he's really perfected it. But I think his performance on Saturday, shooting, I think he shot 3 under par. Bubba shot 4. In wind conditions where Spieth shot 79, Koepka shot 81. I'm talking the best players in the world. Justin Rose shot 78. Guys shooting normal human being numbers out there. And his shot under par and did not have a bogey. It's the most impressive round I've seen in a year. Because he was working the ball left, he was working the ball right, he was flighting the ball high, he was flighting the ball low. He was doing it all. And Bubba too. Because both those guys are true artists. Both those guys would thrive in any era. I don't know if you could say that for every player. Now, would Dustin Johnson been good in the 70s? Yeah. But does he benefit a lot from technology? I think he does. Right? Bryson DeChambeau, Koepka, some of these guys. It's not taking away that they can't hit different shots, but there is a different level with Justin Thomas. I think Justin Thomas, and I said this, I think the first GoLow Pod I ever did, the moment he got bones on the bag, I think that was a personal game changer for him. Because that put him in a position where he can run a little hot too, like Jon Rahm, but his talent is immense. He can do it all. There is no excuse for Justin Thomas's career to end and not have like 5 or 6 majors. He should be like a Lee Trevino of his era. And when you see moments like that happens on Saturday, you go, it's possible. And he's still so young. To me, no player who, like Koepka's already won a couple majors, right? So is Spieth, so is Rory. This guy's ceiling is probably high. Now, obviously, Hovland and Morikawa, because they're still young. But I think JT has a chance to, with Bones, they're just going to go to a different level. And he sniffed it so far this year. He finished 3 under for the Players. But when you looked at his scorecard, he tripled hole 17 on Monday. So he easily could have finished top 10 if he birdies that hole instead of triples it. I would imagine, I didn't see the video, he was going at the pin and probably hit it in the water. Because you know why? He's so rich, he didn't give a shit. He ain't playing for the money. He's playing for the birdies and to finish higher. That's all he cares about. Right? Paul Casey at the end of that round on Monday was playing for the big paycheck, as he should, when you know you can't win it. But most of these guys, if you know you're not even in the top 5, and you have a Justin Thomas or DJ or whatever, DJ shot the quietest 63 you'll ever see on Monday. DJ went from making $50,000. If DJ would have shot even par on Sunday, he would have made $50,000 for the week. Instead, he shot 63 and made $525,000. It was the best score that day by 3 shots. He made himself in 18 holes. Now, again, this doesn't really mean that much to him, but $475,000. Because I would guess he was shooting and firing at every single pin. And DJ, when he's on, like I said, with this technology, can beat anybody on any given day and can win any tournament. But to me, JT, his ability to do it all it was special to watch. It was impressive. As someone who still appreciates people that can do it all, it's why I grew up on Tiger and Phil, people that truly could work the ball. And my favorite old-time player is Lee Trevino, as someone that plays a cut, and I just love, he's a kind of a bullshitter and a big talker and a storyteller. I just love everything about Lee Trevino. He's my type guy. I would love to hang out with him. I appreciate guys that can do it all. And truly, under pressure, right? Most of us, like any guy on tour, can hit a draw if you tell him to hit a draw. But like on hole 17, with one shot behind the leader, can you pull it off? Guys like Justin Thomas can. And it's going to be fun to watch him the next couple years with Bones. Like, I'll be a little shocked if he doesn't rattle off a couple majors. And he hasn't played that well in majors lately. So he's got to step it up. And he's admitted it. Like, he's underachieved, and it pisses him off. I have my future bet on Victor Hovland. I was looking, you can get JT right now, FanDuel, like 15-1. I might put a couple C notes on that bad boy because I think he's going to be a factor here in a couple weeks at Augusta.